Long Island Medium. Theresa Caputo recently opened a new restaurant known for its sophisticated and upscale cuisine. Her entire family, including ex-husband Larry Caputo, attended the opening. Many thought that Theresa could start a happy life with Larry again at this event. But the facts are completely different. The restaurant is entirely Theresa's own initiative, and Larry has no investment in it. She has clearly expressed this to everyone. Theresa is moving forward proudly on her own strength and dreams, and this proves that her new journey is entirely in her own hands. Theresa Caputo, the renowned Long Island medium, had always been known for her uncanny ability to connect with the unseen. Yet, in the heart of her bustling Long Island town, a new challenge awaited her, one that had nothing to do with spirits, predictions, or readings. It was a challenge of a very different kind, the challenge of carving out a new path entirely on her own terms. For months, Theresa had been dreaming of opening a restaurant. Not just any restaurant, but one that reflected her personal taste, her love for family traditions, and her flair for sophisticated cuisine. The idea had begun as a whisper in her mind during quiet nights after long days of readings. Why not create a space where people can connect, laugh, and celebrate life? In the physical world, she had thought. Soon that whisper turned into sketches, menus, and taste tests. Theresa became obsessed, not with fame, not with approval, but with the joy of creation itself. Finally, the day came. The grand opening of Caputo's table was set. The restaurant, a charming blend of modern elegance and cozy warmth, shone under the evening lights. Crystal chandeliers glimmered, the soft aroma of fresh herbs and baked delicacies filled the air, and the polished wooden floors reflected the gentle glow of candles set along each table. Theresa had poured her heart into every detail. The custom table settings, the curated playlist of her favorite classical and jazz pieces, even the hand-picked flowers that adorned each corner. Theresa's family arrived early. Her children, now teenagers, were a mix of nervous excitement and pride. They remembered the countless nights their mother had spent with spirits and strangers, providing comfort and closure. Tonight, it was their turn to celebrate her, not as a medium, but as a woman who had dared to dream and act on her own. And then Larry Caputo arrived, her ex-husband, the man with whom she had shared decades of love, laughter, arguments, and quiet moments. Larry's presence instantly sparked whispers among the guests. Many of the attendees, friends, distant relatives, even some curious locals, glanced at one another with knowing looks, expecting a romantic reconciliation, a rekindling of an old flame. After all, seeing them together again in such a public and celebratory setting seemed like the perfect storybook moment. But Theresa had no intention of playing a part in anyone else's narrative. She greeted Larry warmly with her signature smile and calm grace, but there was no hesitation in her voice when she reminded him, "This is my dream. This is my restaurant. You're here as my guest, nothing more." Larry nodded, a mixture flickering across his face. He knew her too well to underestimate her resolve. As the evening progressed, Theresa moved gracefully among the guests, sharing her vision for the restaurant. She spoke about the inspiration behind each dish, the farmers who supplied the freshest ingredients, and the family recipes that had been reimagined with a modern twist. Guests were enchanted, not just by the food, but by the energy she radiated. There was no hint of longing for the past, no desire to revisit old regrets. Instead, there was pride, independence, and the undeniable glow of someone finally living fully in their own light. At one point, her youngest child approached her, eyes wide. "Mom, everyone keeps asking if you and Dad are getting back together. Are you?" Theresa knelt down and looked into their eyes with gentle seriousness. "No, sweetheart. Dad and I love each other in our own way. Always. But this, what I've built here, is mine. My own strength, my own dream. And that's something I want you to remember. You can love your past without letting it define your future." Her words seemed to settle over the room like a warm embrace. Guests began to understand that this night was about more than just a restaurant opening. It was about self-empowerment, about the courage to step into one's own life fully, and about the quiet triumph of realizing that happiness and fulfillment often come from within, not from rekindled romances or external validation. By the end of the evening, As the last guests lingered over dessert and champagne, Theresa took a moment to herself. She walked to the small balcony at the back of the restaurant, looking out over the twinkling lights of Long Island. The wind teased her hair, carrying with it the distant laughter and chatter from inside. She felt a deep, unshakable sense of pride. She had done this, entirely on her own. No one had paved this path for her. No one had invested their dreams in place of hers. This was her creation, and she could feel it pulsing with life. Larry joined her quietly, standing just a few feet away. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Theresa didn't either. In that shared silence, there was mutual respect, acceptance, and the unspoken acknowledgement that their paths, though once intertwined, now led in different directions. Theresa turned back toward the restaurant, the laughter and music spilling out into the night, and smiled. She was ready for whatever came next, not as a shadow of her past, not as someone tethered to old expectations, but as a woman fully alive, guided by her own vision, strength, and dreams. And in that moment, it was clear to everyone who saw her glow. Theresa Caputo's new journey had only just begun, and it belonged entirely to her. However, the sun was beginning to sink over Long Island when Theresa Caputo pulled up in front of a small blue house tucked quietly at the end of a suburban street in Massapequa. It was late afternoon, the golden hour, Theresa's favorite time of day, though she knew the woman she was about to visit hadn't felt the warmth of sunlight in a long, long time. Her team had told her only a few things. A mother named Helen had lost her teenage daughter Emily in a tragic car accident 8 months earlier. She hadn't slept properly since. She hadn't laughed. She barely left her house. She reached out to Theresa as a last attempt to breathe again. Theresa stepped out of the car, her familiar blonde hair bouncing as she took a deep breath. "All right, Spirit," she murmured to herself. "If you brought me here today, then you better help this mama heal." She knocked gently. The door opened just enough for 20 seconds of hesitation before Helen, thin, pale, eyes swollen from months of silent crying, allowed Theresa inside. "Hi, sweetheart," Theresa said softly, touching her palm to her heart. "Thank you for letting me come." Helen nodded barely. The living room was filled with framed photos of a smiling girl with long auburn hair, on a bicycle, at a school play, blowing out birthday candles. Everything in the room had the echoes of her absence. "Before we start," Helen whispered, voice trembling, "I need to tell you, I'm not sure I believe in any of this, but I'm drowning, Theresa. I'll try anything." "You don't have to believe in me," Theresa said kindly. "You just have to believe in love. That's the only thing Spirit ever brings through." Helen's jaw quivered. They sat across from each other. Theresa closed her eyes, let her palms rest on her knees, and inhaled slowly. Within seconds, her head tilted, her breathing changed, and she spoke. "Okay, so immediately I have a young female stepping forward. She's showing me butterflies, so many butterflies. And she keeps saying, 'Mom, tell her I'm right here.'" Helen's eyes snapped open in shock. Theresa continued, voice gentle but steady. "She tells me your house is filled with silence now. She says you stopped playing music, but she wants the music back." A tear rolled down Helen's cheek. "I used to play Taylor Swift in the kitchen every morning while making breakfast," she whispered. "After she died, I couldn't." Theresa smiled softly. "Honey, she's literally yelling at me about that. She's like, 'Tell Mom to put it back on. Tell her I dance in the kitchen with her.'" Helen covered her mouth, shoulders shaking. Theresa paused again, listening. "She keeps showing me a car. She's not showing me pain, though. I need you to know that. She keeps saying, 'It wasn't my fault, Mom.' She wants you to stop blaming yourself." Helen sobbed. "I told her not to drive that night. I should have insisted. I should have gone with her. I should have..." Theresa gently reached over and held her trembling hand. "I'm going to stop you for a second, because your daughter is literally standing behind you, shaking her head like, 'Mom, stop. Stop hurting yourself.' She says she made her own choice that night, and she doesn't want the last thing you remember to be fear. She wants you to remember her singing loudly in the car, being silly, being free." Helen collapsed into tears. "She's also talking about a bracelet," Theresa added, "one with beads, and she says you keep it in your bedside drawer." Helen gasped. It was the last thing she made before she passed. I couldn't throw it away. I hold it every night. She knows, Theresa said. She tells me she sits next to you when you do. She says she puts her hand on yours. Helen cried harder at that. Theresa's voice softened even more. She also keeps showing me a journal, something you've been writing in, or trying to. Helen looked down, embarrassed. I write letters to her, she said quietly, every night. I tell her how much I miss her. I thought maybe she could hear me somehow. Theresa smiled, her eyes warm. Honey, she reads every single word. She's literally telling me. Mom, thank you for writing to me. But now let me talk back. Helen covered her face and sobbed into her palms. The air shifted then, subtle, tender like a soft breeze through a closed window. Theresa whispered. She's showing me her room. The posters on the walls, the stuffed penguin on the bed. She says you haven't moved anything? I couldn't, Helen said. If I touch her things, it'll feel like letting her go. Theresa took a deep breath. Helen, your daughter is telling me that letting go of her objects does not mean letting go of her. She says she wants you to keep one or two things, but she wants you to live again. She wants you to open the curtains, to take a walk, to paint like you used to. Helen stared at Theresa in shock. I haven't painted since before she died. How would you know that? Theresa pointed upward. She told me. She's holding a paintbrush in my mind's eye right now, and she's laughing because she says you used to paint flowers, and she'd always tell you they looked like fuzzy broccoli. Helen laughed through tears. The first laugh in months. My God, she actually said that all the time. Theresa let out a big Long Island laugh. Yeah, she's got a sense of humor, that one. The room warmed with emotion. Then Theresa's expression shifted, more serious now. She wants me to give you something very important. Helen inhaled, bracing herself. She says the night she passed, the last thought she had was of you. She wasn't scared. She wasn't alone. She felt you with her. She says, Mom, I wasn't in pain. I went fast. I felt love. Helen's whole body shook. Theresa leaned closer. She wants you to stop torturing yourself replaying the accident. She wants you to live. Because she's living through you now. The mother wept openly, clutching her chest. Then Theresa felt another surge. Strong. Bright. She says one more thing. She says, Tell Mom the purple butterfly was me. Helen shot up, sobbing with disbelief. 3 nights ago, a purple butterfly landed on my window. It just sat there for almost 2 minutes. I even said out loud, Emily, is that you? Theresa nodded. She heard you, and that was her way of answering. Silence took over, but this time, it wasn't heavy, it wasn't suffocating. It was peaceful, like the first breath after months underwater. Finally, Theresa stood. Sweetheart, your daughter's soul is at peace. She wants the same for you. She'll walk with you every day of your life, but she doesn't want your life to stop because hers did. Helen wiped her eyes, breathing shakily. I don't know how to start living again, she whispered. Theresa gently squeezed her hand. Start small, play the music, open the curtains, step outside. And when you do, know this. Your daughter is right beside you. She's not gone. She didn't disappear. She just changed the way she's with you. Helen nodded, her tears calmer now. Healing tears. As Theresa walked to the door, she paused. Helen, she wants me to tell you that she loves you more than the moon. Does that mean anything? Helen pressed a fist to her trembling lips. That was our thing? She whispered. Every night. I'd say, I love you to the moon. And she'd finish. And back again. Theresa smiled tenderly. She just said it again. However, Monty Davis had never planned to step inside a medium's reading room. For years, he avoided anything that reminded him of his mother, her voice, her perfume, even her favorite music. Grief wasn't his only burden. Guilt lived inside him like a shadow that never left. He believed he failed her at the end, that he hadn't done enough. But on a crisp autumn afternoon in Long Island, something made him walk into a small center in Hicksville. where a sign in bright white letters said, "Theresa Caputo private readings today." Monty had seen her show before, but he never expected to be one of the people sitting quietly in that warm, cozy room filled with candles, soft lighting, and the faint smell of vanilla. Theresa Caputo walked in with her usual big energy and bright presence. Her blonde hair was perfectly done, and as always, she wore heels that made her footsteps echo across the room. "Hi, sweetheart," she said, smiling warmly at Monty. "You look like someone who's been carrying a heavy heart for way too long." Monty swallowed. His hands were trembling. Theresa sat across from him, adjusted her bracelets, and immediately pressed her hand to her chest. "Spirits coming in fast," she whispered. "They've been waiting for you." Monty's world froze. He wasn't prepared for what was coming, yet something inside him wanted, needed this moment. Theresa closed her eyes. "I'm hearing a woman," she said slowly. "A mother figure. She's saying, 'My boy, my sweet boy.'" Monty's breath caught. That was exactly what his mother used to call him. Theresa continued, "She's showing me her hands. Maybe she used to smooth your hair when you were little. She keeps brushing your head." Tears filled Monty's eyes instantly. "That was her," he said quietly. "Every night." Theresa nodded, her expression soft. "She's stepping closer. She's putting her hands on your shoulders. She wants me to tell you. She's not upset with you. She has no anger, no disappointment, none." Monty's chest tightened. "But I didn't take care of her enough," he whispered. "I should have been there more. I should have—" Theresa raised a hand gently. "Sweetheart." She's shaking her head. She says, "Stop blaming yourself." Theresa touched her temple suddenly. "She's showing me a hospital room, and you sitting in the dark corner thinking you were too late." Monty stared at her in shock. He had never told anyone about that moment. "That night," Monty said, voice cracking, "I came after work. I was exhausted. She passed before I arrived. I always thought she waited for me, and I failed her." Theresa leaned forward, voice firm yet filled with love. "She says, 'I did not want you to see me leave. That's why I left when you weren't there.'" Monty gasped. "She says you gave her everything she needed, the love, the care, the laughter. She doesn't want your last memory to be her suffering." Theresa looked into his eyes. "She chose peace for you." Suddenly, Theresa smiled softly. "Your mom's showing me something funny. A apron with a silly chicken on it." Monty covered his face, laughing through tears. "She used to wear that every Sunday while cooking," he said. "I hated it. She thought it was hilarious." Theresa laughed too. "She says she still wears it. She loves keeping her humor alive." Then Theresa's face grew serious again. "She keeps saying, 'Tell him I'm proud of him. Tell him he became the man I prayed he'd be.'" Monty couldn't hold back anymore. Tears streamed down his face. "How," he whispered, "how could she be proud of me? I've been broken since she left." Theresa reached out, placing her hand over Monty's. "She wants you to know you didn't break. You grew around your grief. And she's been with you every single step. In the kitchen, in your car, on the nights you couldn't sleep." Then she added, "She says you need to forgive yourself. That's the only thing holding you back." Monty took a long, shaking breath. Theresa looked at him with deep compassion. "Your mom is holding your face," she said softly. "She's telling you, 'My boy, let go. You were enough. You were always enough.'" Monty closed his eyes and let the tears fall freely. In that moment, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Lightness. A warmth that wrapped around him like a familiar embrace. It felt like his mother was right there, holding him the way she used to. And for the first time since her passing, Monty whispered, "I forgive myself, Mom. I forgive myself." Theresa nodded. "She heard you. And she's smiling." However, the late afternoon sun was spilling golden light across the quiet Long Island street as Theresa Caputo parked her car in front of her favorite little cafe. She had promised herself a brief moment of peace before the evening's reading session, a rare luxury in her busy life. But the moment she stepped inside, her intuition prickled with a familiar weight, a heaviness that wasn't hers, but someone else's. A woman was sitting alone at the corner table, her shoulders hunched, fingers gripping a cup of coffee as if it were the only thing keeping her grounded. Theresa approached gently, her signature smile softening the tension in the room. "Hi, Theresa said, taking the chair across from her. "I'm Theresa." The woman looked up, startled. Her eyes were red, tired, and filled with a depth of sorrow that immediately tugged at Theresa's heart. I don't even know why I'm here," she admitted, her voice shaking. "I've never done this before." Theresa nodded, understanding. "Sometimes we don't know why the universe guides us somewhere until we're already there. But I promise, whatever you're carrying, you don't have to carry it alone anymore." The woman let out a shuddering sigh. "You don't understand. I've been carrying this burden for so long. It's like it's become a part of me. I thought I could manage it. I thought I could survive it. But it's just too heavy." Theresa reached across the table, resting a comforting hand on hers. "I can see that. I can feel the weight of it. But I want you to know something important. You've already been strong enough to carry it all this time. That strength, it's a part of you, yes, but it doesn't have to define you. You're allowed to let go." The woman's eyes welled up, tears spilling freely now. "I don't even know if I can," she whispered. "I've been blaming myself, punishing myself for things I couldn't control. I've been so angry at the world, at God, at myself, and I don't know how to stop." Theresa closed her eyes for a brief moment, connecting with her gift, opening herself to the energies around her. She could feel the pain, the guilt, the endless nights of loneliness that had surrounded this woman like a heavy fog. And then, faintly, a presence stepped forward, soft, gentle, patient, filled with love. "This is your mother," Theresa said softly. "She wants you to know she's still with you. She's been with you through every tear, every sleepless night, every moment you felt alone. She's proud of the strength you've shown, and she's asking you to forgive yourself because she already has." The woman's hands trembled. I lost her 10 years ago. I thought I would never get over it." Theresa nodded, her own eyes glistening with empathy. "Grief doesn't disappear, but it changes shape. It doesn't leave us. It becomes a part of our strength. And right now, your mother is showing me that she's been carrying some of your burden too, so you wouldn't have to carry it all alone. That's why it feels so heavy. You've been carrying not just your own pain, but hers as well." Tears streamed down the woman's face, her body shaking. I never knew. I thought I was failing her by still hurting. I thought she would be disappointed that I couldn't just move on." Theresa's voice was tender, unwavering. "She's not disappointed. She's proud. Every time you've smiled when you didn't want to, every time you've been kind when you felt broken, every time you've held yourself together, she sees it all. She's telling you now that it's okay to finally let go of the blame. It's okay to finally give yourself peace." The woman bowed her head, sobbing quietly. Theresa stayed with her, offering silent support, until the tremors began to calm, and the tightness in her chest started to loosen. It was as if the invisible chains that had bound her for so long were gently falling away, piece by piece. "Theresa, I feel something lifting," the woman whispered, her voice thick but hopeful. "It's like a weight I didn't even realize I was holding is gone." "That's because it is," Theresa replied, smiling through her own tears. "You've been carrying so much guilt, so much pain, that you didn't even notice it anymore. But now, you're ready to step into the light. Your mother is with you, and she's guiding you. But the real work, the real freedom, comes from within you. You've done it before, and now you can do it even more fully." The woman took a deep breath, finally allowing herself a small, trembling smile. "Thank you. I've carried this for so long I didn't even know what hope felt like anymore. But now, I think I do." Theresa squeezed her hand one last time. "You've got this. And remember, you're never truly alone. Love surrounds you, and it always will. Even when you can't see it, it's there, whispering, guiding, comforting you. All you have to do is listen." The woman nodded, wiping her tears and straightening her shoulders. For the first time in years, she felt lighter, freer. She felt a spark of courage she thought she had lost forever, and as she walked out of the cafe, the setting sun seemed to shine just a little brighter, as if the universe itself was affirming the shift in her heart. Theresa watched her go, feeling a quiet joy settle within her. This was why she did what she did. Not for fame, not for recognition, but for moments like this, when a person finally realized that the burden they had carried for so long could be released, and that healing was possible. And as the door closed behind the woman, Theresa whispered softly to the quiet cafe, "Go on, live your life fully, without guilt, without fear. You are stronger than you know, and loved more than you can imagine." The golden light faded into twilight, but in that small corner of Long Island, a heart had been lifted, a burden finally set down, and a soul reminded that even the heaviest weight can be lightened when love finds its way in. Hello, lovely viewers. Welcome to my channel. I am Mina. Hope your day is so well. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe the channel.